If you listen to the show, you already know that we cannot exist without our sponsors. They are the ones who make things happen behind the scenes. So let's acknowledge Fuji Sports. We've been working with these guys for a while now, not only as far as this podcast is concerned, but also at the RŌL Academy. We've had their gear. I personally use their gis. What a phenomenal product.
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu, judo, MMA, tape, bags, anything you need for your jiu-jitsu journey, you can find at fujisports.com.
Let's talk RŌL TV. There's so much content on there. It's ridiculous at this point. But I think what is even more intriguing, as time went on during the project, we've been recording most of the events that were taking place here at RŌL Academy. At this point, I mean, we have guys like Chris Howder, Armin Fati, Rafael Lovato Sr., and Pete the Greek. I mean, there are so many different events that we've kind of recorded it. Don't you think that's amazing? I mean, it's points of reflection and kind of going back for all the students to see what really happened and refresh their memory.
Yeah, I think it's great, you know, being able to go back and look at all these high-level practitioners, Octavio Kudo, like one of the names you didn't mention. And I mean, just these guys that have been doing this for so long come in, teach these amazing seminars and workshops, and it's all recorded and there for you to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get additional savings on all this, type in code RŌL Radio at the coupon and get additional 30% off of your membership.
Nice. Go to RŌLAcademy.tv. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please remember to hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. That ensures that we can continue bringing you the great guests and amazing content you have come to expect. Today's guest has been on the mats through Jiu-Jitsu's evolution from mostly private lessons taught by the Gracie family to the hugely successful academies we know of today. Fabio Santos joins us to share his wisdom from over 4 decades on the mats, the importance of keeping the self-defense aspect in Jiu-Jitsu, training with the legends of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the relationships he has built through the art, and a ton more. Here's the RŌL Radio with Relson Gracie Coral Belt, Rickson Gracie Black Belt, and owner-instructor of San Diego's Fabio Santos Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy, Master Fabio Santos.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we are live.
There we go. That was a great clap.
Oh, thank you.
That was a good one.
After 150 some episodes,
Yes.
I'm getting good at it.
Yep.
Yeah. How was your weekend?
My weekend was, it had its ups and downs, shall we say.
Shall we say?
Yeah. But I'm looking at the bright side, man.
Good.
No matter what happens.
It's a good day.
Right. There's, you know, there's bumps in the road. As long as it's not one of those major crashes, shall we say, everything's fine, man.
It's almost
Fine.
It's almost like jiu-jitsu, right?
No, not my jiu-jitsu.
No?
No, that's hitting the wall all the time. I did open mat yesterday for the first time in a couple of weeks. People don't know. I won't get into my situation, but I was not training, and I walked onto the mat, man, and it was like a room full of killers, and everybody was 240 pounds and ex-wrestlers, and I was just like, well, you know, I had 2 choices. You know, I was turn around and go home. Nobody really saw me yet, or get out there and just do the best I could, and that's what I chose to do. And I was so happy that I went. You know, I was gonna put some stuff on social media. I never got around to it, but just thanking everybody for the good morning that I had, and then I was able to get out the rest of the day.
Isn't it interesting how one morning getting beat up really can change the day and make
the hard part's over, man.
The hard part is over.
Yeah, now all I got to do is go home and deal with my kids. That's easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
good for you.
Yeah. And you?
Listen, it's a good quiet weekend. Everything is good. Everything is good. I do want to remind everybody, go to our website.
Yeah.
Press the cast the vote button. Mm-hmm. Tell us which episodes you like the best. Yep. And then we'll send you some t-shirts. We'll send you some cool stuff. But we do love to hear from you. We have so many great guests at this point that we would love to know which ones you like and you know, which ones were amazing, which one made impact on you, because that's why That's why truly why we're doing here.
Yeah, and scroll through like the takeaways to see the titles of the takeaways that correspond to particular episodes, because there might be something you haven't listened to yet that'll pique your interest. Something that it pertains to you. You might be like, oh, okay, I never heard episode 48, and now I'm going to go back and listen to that one because I'm in that situation.
Get back into the archives.
Yep, for sure.
That's why we do it. That's the beautiful part. And today's not any different. We have fabulous guest, a coral belt, which that puts you. First of all, welcome, sir. How are you? Let's start with that. But
thank you very much.
As jiu-jitsu continues evolving and it continues growing, because it does grow continuously, black belts are becoming a little bit more common, if you will. But a coral belt, that really is the separation point still at this point. There's not many of them out there, and that really puts this very small group of individuals who have been on the mat for a very, very long time. And you guys have been making impact and really painting the path for rest of all of us. And how do you feel about that, being one of the pioneers, if you will?
After you get your black belt, it's rough to stay in it for about 31 more years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Because, that's how long it takes for you to get your coral belt.
Yeah.
But I guess when it's your life, what are you going to do? That's what you do, and then it happens when it happens. But, that helps you to acquire a lot of knowledge. That's for sure,
Do you feel like, you are a pioneer of jiu-jitsu? Do you feel like you have contributed in some way where everybody, in some way, shape or form, looks up to you?
Well, in the United States, yes, because when we first got here, Hardy had his academy in Torrance. And he called me in Oregon after I sent him a letter because I saw something on the Black Belt magazine inviting people for seminars, and it was Hardy's invitation. So I called him, and he was like, oh, man, you got to get down here. And, that was in 91.
Before
Before
UFC.
Yeah, he wanted me to be there to help out, with all the classes while Royce would train for the UFC. He had that plan, but it still took 2 years until he actually made the UFC in 93.
Do you think, like, when you reflect on this, when you think about this back, do you think that the jiu-jitsu has exploded or has grown in an unexpected way, or is it something that you envisioned down the road?
It was inevitable, right? Because the product, jiu-jitsu, is so good. A blue belt can actually teach somebody how to do a few things, and that's going to get that person hooked, for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Imagine what a black belt can, bring out the curiosity on the person to see what else can you do. It's like, having superpowers, like some other guys say.
Well, it's true. I mean, many do think about that. So,
and when you can acquire those superpowers through time, and you realize that right off the bat, it's a huge thing, and that's why it was so inevitable for it to grow that way. But then, now it comes, a lot of people that are charlatans. I hate to say that, but it's true. There's a lot of people out there that starts teaching their friend, but they're not teaching the right thing. They're not teaching, the ladder that you should teach to get the guy. I mean, like break falls. They're going to go over there and throw the guy. The guy doesn't even know how to fall. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't know how to start that thing, you can be making a giant mistake and even hurting people.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, ability to teach and teach the right things. That's the really important part.
Right things to get the guy going, at least,
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that has a bad what do you say, a bad first day in jiu-jitsu, and then they never come back.
And then they tell others, and then others don't even want to try it.
That's the problem. They tell others, oh, man, I went over there, and the guy threw me around like a rag doll. I heard this, I heard that. And then that's it. You know, the other person, they're gonna go do something else.
Before we get deeper into quality of instructors, I do want to talk about how it all started for you. You were, I mean, a coral belt, 30 plus years, right? Do you remember like when it all started? Do you remember your first day on the mat?
Oh yeah, I remember because my mom, you know, in Brazil it's kind of rough. I don't know if you guys been there. You know, it was a rough time, you know, when I was going to school and the kids were bullies and they would take your money. And my mom was like, I'm not going to keep you giving you money for you to give to the other kids. So I'm going to put you in jiu-jitsu. And she had knowledge of RŌL Gracie, but RŌL Gracie wasn't very available. In 69, 68, he wasn't really available. He was super busy. So we got classes from Bernardo, which was one of his students. You know, and I was probably 9 years old or 10 years old. But I really didn't want to go. I wanted to go to the beach, you know. I wanted to go do stuff that all my friends were doing, not jiu-jitsu, get beat up and, you know, discipline in the, you know. I wanted to go surfing. I didn't want to go to jiu-jitsu, but I went, you know, because my mom was rough on me. She was like, you got to do this, you know. So when I turned I did it for a couple of years, but then I got out of it for a while. Then when I was about 14, 15, I started to see the Gracie family around, you know, Toughest Gracie and surfing out there on the beach. And in 1976, I went to Peru to go surfing over there and watch the World Surfing Tournament. And me and Alvaro Romano and all my friends, we went there to go surfing. And that's where Hollis was, and we met him over there. And he kept talking about his school in Brazil, in Rio, and this and that. And we we're just like, yeah, right. Karate is what we want to do. You know what I mean? We're going to jump around and punch and kick, you know. But when we got back, we actually went over there to check it out. And then that was it. That was it. We were hooked. And from that day on, I was probably about 15. That's when I started getting serious about. And I wanted to go every single day. Now it became, you know, I have to find money to pay for the academy and to pay to buy my gi and all that. So that kind of brought me to get a job too, because, you know, my mom is like, well, now you're going to have to pay for yourself or help to pay. I'll give you some, but you're going to have to help. So I'm like, okay. So I started fixing surfboards. I was really good at it. And that helped me to pay for a lot of things too.
Do you remember? Do you remember the very first day when you went to whole school? Like the you know, after the break,
I remember.
What was your first class like?
It wasn't very fun.
This is why I'm asking.
You know, Carlos Gracie was there. Carlos Gracie Jr.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was about my age and he knew jiu-jitsu. He knew. And I got beat up like an old thief or something. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, this is it. I got to learn it. I didn't even know anybody else. I mean, I knew Hollis, but Hollis was like in the pedestal. You didn't get to even talk to him, you know what I mean, for a while. And then they beat me up for a good week and all. And, you know, I went and signed up. But even though at that time it was very sporadic for me because I didn't have the money, you know, so I wouldn't show up. And then one day I was in there and Hollis come and talk to me and he goes, can you paint that wall over there? I'm like, oh yeah, I can paint. I'm really good at it, you know, because I do surfboards. I'm really good at doing manual work. And he goes, all right, you don't have money to pay for the academy. I see that you're not coming. So paint that wall and then you can come for a month. I'm like, great. You know, and that's how it started. I started to go more often and, you know, got really hooked to it. And when I became a purple belt, that's when Halls died. I was already teaching the kids. I really didn't want to, but, you know, I wanted to train, you know, and get my black belt. But that was just, It took me probably 17 or 18 years to actually get it.
Well, so we'll talk about that for a moment, but I'm curious, why didn't you want to teach kids?
I didn't want to, because I wanted to be on the mat for training, not to, because when you teach, you're not training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there were tournaments, there were vale-tudos that I was thinking about competing. So whenever I wasn't training, I wanted to be resting. But then I had to get there early to teach the kids. And then when it came to it, I was tired already, or kind of, losing a little motivation. It was rough, but hey, you do what you got to do, right? And I kept teaching for many years until, Halls died. And we went with Rickson. And we had no kids to teach then, so we trained hard. We trained super hard with the time of Marcelo Bering. I know you heard these guys.
Oh yeah.
And that Pedro Sauer.
Oh, yeah.
We're all out in the same class. Was
that a big change for you when obviously Halls died, passes away, and
that was to me? It was a terrible time for me for many years to actually. It was the second time I was seeing death, because my dad died when I was 12 years old. And, at that time when Halls died, we were really close. We were very close by then. And it was a terrible time of my life, So I didn't go back for a little while until Rickson rounded us up on the beach one day and said, hey, there's 12 guys over here. Why don't we just start training again? You guys can come over. I'm like, all right. So we started again, after a couple of years of just kind of bumming around and not doing anything. How can I say? Because it was a big like bomb to us when Hall died.
I'm sure. I mean, there's a big impact, right? I mean, and you guys are young at that point, right?
Yeah, we didn't know what to do, if you were going to continue or not. But, Rickson got us out of that hole, and we started competing again. We did a couple of fights and, go back on track. But it took a little while.
Do you feel like, as I'm listening to you, you had few of moments where the pause or stop of training took place?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And one, Halls got you back in it. Then Rickson gets you back in it.
Yes.
Do you feel that those two individuals really played a significant role? Without them, you probably would not be doing what you're doing today, right?
Probably not, because I had a lot of good things also going on in my life, like surfing and riding fast motorcycles, and I had racing, and I had a lot of stuff going on that people have no idea also, I never went into the hang gliding and parachute stuff because I'm really scared of that stuff. But
wait a minute. You're scared of heights, but you're not scared of fast motorcycles?
Oh no, yeah.
There's a big difference.
On your fast motorcycle depends on your own control. When you're flying out in the air, you have no control of that.
I haven't done either, so I have no idea. How fast is a fast motorcycle?
How fast?
Yeah, how fast?
173 miles an hour.
Nice. Holy crap.
That's the fastest I've ever been on my old Suzuki 1000. That I bought a new one now. Not new, old, but new.
New to you?
I bought a 2004 Fireblade CBR 1000. It's incredible.
Is that something you to do this day?
Yeah, yep. I don't race anymore, but I ride it everywhere around here. Utah is beautiful to ride. It's definitely a great place to ride. You don't have to wear a helmet, but I do.
I'm gonna ask you a tough question. I'm gonna ask you a tough question. What is more exciting to you, jiu-jitsu or motorcycles? They
were up there when I was young, kind of together, because I'm very competitive, But now jiu-jitsu is pretty much what I do. And I've been thinking about competing again, which is, I don't think it's a good idea, but I went to the national. So whenever I go to a tournament, I get that gasoline burning, you know what I mean? I want to compete, but I think jiu-jitsu is more important to me than anything in the world now.
Do you find things similar between them two? Are they in it? Is there
the adrenaline? You know, it's pretty close. You know, once you get going to a certain speed, the adrenaline pumps in. It's kind of like being in a fight with somebody that you don't know. You know, you roll with your friends is one thing, but when you roll somebody that is trying to kill you, it's a complete different thing. Yeah.
I agree. So after a couple years break, Rickson, you have conversations with Rickson. He brings you back on the mat and you start training again. What does it feel like being back on the mat and training with Rickson?
It was great because the camaraderie, you know, was, you know, in the mats and was on the mats and outside the mat. Our friends were the jiu-jitsu guys, you know, Rickson and Marcelo Bering, RŌL, Marcio, you know, everybody that we go to parties together, we go surfing together. So it was great for a long time until 83. I got my black belt, and I had an offer to go to work in New York with the stuff that I went to college for, you know, lift and weights and physical fitness and PE of all kinds. And I went because, you know, in Brazil, you got to follow the opportunities, you know. Mm-hmm. And for many years, I was there and coming back to Brazil and fighting a couple of tournaments, getting beat up because I wasn't training how I should been, but never left jiu-jitsu, you know.
One of the things that you mentioned a moment ago is that took you 17 years to get the black belt. That's a that's a long time. Do you feel that that's why? Let's start with that. Why do you think it took you so long?
You know, probably because everyone in the family, because I got brought up with the family, with the Gracie family. Everybody in the family got, you know, their black belts. It took that long, 20 years. The other one took 15 years. The other one took 18 years. So I guess I just follow the, because you never ask, you know how it is. You know, you just go to class. And, you know, a lot of times I traveled. So I missed promotions. I missed a lot of stuff, you know. But I came back and I beat the best guy of all in the brown belt, so they couldn't get away from giving it to me.
But listen, that brings up a really important question, I think, that oftentimes, especially today, is being brought up or asked. There's many guys who do receive black belts much sooner than that today. You know, and you're saying 15, 17, 20 years is a normal thing back then.
Yeah.
Do you think that amount of time, how long it takes to get a black belt is important, or should it be more of a how much they know, how good they are?
I think how much they know should be important. I think nowadays they should have a test, you know, for black belts. You know, I know every single black belt that I have because I handed them the black belt myself, and I probably trained them every single day of their lives for at least 10 years, let's say. So I know that those guys know, you know what I mean? I have approximately 60 black belts in San Diego. And I personally train those guys, you know what I mean? They came to the academy sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, you know? So.
Well, I was going to ask, did it take so long back then compared to now because the belts just didn't matter back then as much? You know what I mean?
Something, but nowadays guys go to the academy twice a day, you know, so they're sucking in that knowledge like crazy, you know. A lot of guys, I know a guy like Fernando Margarida. You heard about this guy, right? He was my student in the purple belt, and then I gave him a brown belt. I mean, this kid got his black belt in probably 7 years. And he went to Brazil and beat every single person, not only in his weight division, but in the open. So you can't hold these guys behind. But now it comes the question, can he fight? Or he's just that sport guy?
Mm.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Can he protect his face? Can he protect his head from somebody trying to smash it in, somebody trying to kick him in the legs? You know how to do that? A lot of people don't. They go in the ring, they have a rude awakening. Oh, they're black belts, but you know what I'm trying to say, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
We had Chris Howder on the show, and he was talking the same thing. It's like
I love the guy.
Oh yeah, I mean it's what a great wisdom, right? But so he was talking about, there's a lot of very good black belts who know how to compete, but they don't know how to. But they don't know how to protect themselves in a self-defense street situation, right?
Yeah.
Do you think? Do you think that these two areas, self-defense and competition, do you think that they are as much together as they used to be, or they're separating?
Oh, now they're completely separated. They're completely separated now. You see millions of videos of sport jiu-jitsu, but you don't see much self-defense out there. Or what would you do if somebody decided to kill you in the middle of the street? Somebody strong.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the predators are generally a strong person. It's never a weak, you know what I mean? So if you can defend yourself against a strong person that's just coming at you, that's pretty good, you know what I mean? But if you're going to put the person in a half guard, I don't think that's going to be a good idea in the street,
Yeah. Always reminds me of Kaiki's son.
You're going to act in instinct. Yeah. If somebody attacks you, you're going to cower or you're going to do what you got to do. Am I right? So it's inside of you. If you're going to cower and then you're going to get beat up, or you're going to do what you got to do, which is block and punch back or kick back, or whatever you got to do. But that is going to take if you had training. Because if you didn't have training, you're probably going to cower out.
That's very true. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had to use self-defense in a situation?
Oh, 100 times. I worked in Park City as a doorman in a place called the Alamo. Yeah, this bar was rough, man. I worked for 2 years at this place. There was more fights than I've ever had in my life. Against sober people, against drunk people, because when you work in a place like this and you have to use your self-defense, you can never attack anybody because then you get in trouble. So you have to wait for them to attack you, but you're already expecting because they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
If you tell somebody that they cannot be there anymore, they have to leave. Or they're going to do it in a good way, or they're going to attack you. Or try to, to say, no, I'm not leaving. Who's going to take me out? And then you have to act.
So looking at jiu-jitsu today, we have the self-defense area, we have the sport area, and a moment ago you said that they are completely separate. Do you find one more important than the other for jiu-jitsu as art, for jiu-jitsu what we do today?
See, the self-defense part is not very big. It's just that once you learn that, you're pretty much pretty good at defending yourself. I'm not even talking about the weapons retention part. I'm just, I'm talking about without weapons, or maybe a knife, because that's a very more common attack. If you learn that part, which is not very big, then comes the stand-up, the wrestling part of jiu-jitsu, and then the ground part of jiu-jitsu, which is huge, huge. The stand-up and the ground part is huge, the sport part. So it's going to take you a lot longer to learn that part than the self-defense. I mean, I can have, I had blue belt girls that knew the self-defense like a black belt. They were incredible. I even put videos out of them doing it, me attacking them in every way possible with a knife, and they unbelievable self-defense. But the ground part, that takes a lot of, the balance and where to put your body and to make your body difficult to get. And you know what I mean? The most important is balance, because, see the people throw themselves and you just kind of help them, on a sweep. Once you get good at that part on the ground, you don't throw yourself anymore. You know what I mean? You become very hard to sweep. You become base oriented. Yeah. Balance, that's the hardest part for you to learn. Submissions are easy. The hard part is how to make your body difficult for the other guy to get it.
Do you think the balance is the most important part of jiu-jitsu?
Balance is a huge part. Your defense is another huge part. There isn't really the most important part because all the parts come they merge in together. So they're all very important, but balance is, if you're on top, you don't want to get swept because that's when your misery is going to start.
That's very true.
So when you teach, do you teach in that order of self-defense is first, and once you're through that, we're going to move to the ground?
Well, I teach like Hollis and Rickson used to teach a group class, which is first 3 or 4 movements is a self-defense movement. Sometimes I use that for a warm-up. Or sometimes we do the regular warm-up with the break falls and the rolling and, all those bear walking and all that. So it varies a little bit, but there's always self-defense. And then we go into the ground and we work on some positions on the ground, and I always save about 40 minutes for sparring, for actually live rolling. I see a lot of schools, they don't let the guy roll until the guy gets a blue belt. But I think that's a controversial way to do things, because the guy isn't there to fight. You know what I mean? That's a fight house that he's in. So I have him fighting on the 3rd day already. White belt on the 3rd day, you have to check the guy. Maybe the guy's a psychotic maniac. You just can't let him. He's going to hurt himself first, and then he's going to hurt other people. So you have to, what the person needs. That's what you're going to let him do,
Well, and I think that's what makes a good instructor, really understanding what people need and how do you teach them that, right? And before we start recording, we briefly talked about that, but that's one of the things I really want to talk to you about, really want to pick your brain and really want to let me inside there.
Okay.
There's so many people teaching jiu-jitsu today. I mean, we talk about thousands, tens of thousands. I mean, jiu-jitsu is so popular that it's almost everywhere, but not everybody can teach well. Yeah. Why do you think that happens?
I think you learn by example in that matter. I learned by watching Hollis and the Gracie and Rickson teaching. I learn and I teach I try to teach just like them because I guess it worked, right? They made millions of champions, So I try to keep that tradition, and I see a lot of people, they break the tradition and then they can't make anybody. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for them to actually get out there and say, hey, that guy is my guy. He's out there winning, But now we have, is he winning on MMA? He's winning on sport jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? So everything's specific nowadays. It's insane,
What do you think makes a good instructor? What do you think, would grow somebody to be a good leader?
First, conduct, right? Conduct is very important because, you have to, like I said, you have to be the example. If you're out there smoking cigarettes and getting drunk every night, your students are going to go, oh man, this guy is really, you know what I'm saying? So by example is a very important thing. The guy sees how you're doing and he's like, man, I got to do like that guy, So he's 100 years old. He's still going, you know what I mean? So I think conduct is the first. And then looking at the student personally, like what this guy needs, you know what I mean? So for that, you're going to have to be in class with him, So the guy that pays another instructor to go over there, he better be really good because for me, I want to meet every student that I sign up, at least in the next 1 week or 2 weeks. I have a lot of friends that they have schools, but, they got other stuff going on also. So a lot of times they don't even meet that student for a while, for a year, maybe 2 years. Because they're out doing seminars, they're out doing this, they're stars, But no, I want to meet that guy. I live in Utah, but I'm at my academy every month, at least once, sometimes twice. I'm actually going out next month. My school is in San Diego, but I live in Utah now because California is unlivable. So I had to move.
How do you, so knowing all of this, how do you become a good instructor? Like if one, let's just say there's somebody a blue belt and they say, I would love to teach in the future. I would love to be a black belt. And I know I have a long way, but what can I do?
He has to go to every class that his instructor teaches. Sometimes twice a day, I have a student that even Kevin Rossini, even my accent, he copies. Perfect like I teach. Perfect. Because since he was 16 years old, he was in my class. He's 30 now. So he has a school in Ramona in San Diego. Very successful school. Packed. Because he's really good. He's only 30 years old. He's been with me for 16 years. He went to every single class. If you go watch his class and watch my class, you go, what the heck is that? The guy's like a parrot of me. And I think that's great. You know what I mean? Because he not only has a bunch of champions in his school, little kids that win all the tournaments and, So that to me, I go over there and do seminars for him. That to me is great. It's gratifying,
So, well, I was just going to say, so if he's a parrot of you, what does he bring to the table that's different that maybe impresses you from somebody who's younger, who maybe has a different outlook on jiu-jitsu?
He's younger and he brings a lot of half guard sweeps and stuff that the young guys are doing today, birimbolos and all that stuff, Plus what I taught him, all the self-defense, he does it perfect. So the kid did a very good job.
So do you think that everybody can be an instructor? Can everybody teach jiu-jitsu?
Some people is more inclined to that, Some people, they do a better job than others. They're more personalized with the others, they're good at public relations. So that helps, You can't be rough with the student. You have to have, what's the word? Etiquette, ethics. And if you go to school for it, it's even better, which I did for many years, because then you learn how to deal with the student. You learn a little bit of psychology, how to approach sometimes the student. You have something more rough to talk to him about, like the guys that go crazy and you have to tell them to slow down, and they don't. And then you have to bring them in the corner and tell them how it's going to have to be, Yeah. It's a lot of people lose a lot of students because they don't know how to approach the student, And I think that takes years and years. If you're going to, since you got your black belt and you're going to start teaching the next month, you might have a problem.
It takes a
You
long.
know?
It takes a long time to learn.
Yeah, it takes a long time to not do the same arm bar every day. You know what I mean? And then the same sweep days in a row, you know. You have to diversify and think of jiu-jitsu or links, you know. If you taught how to pass the guard, and then you have to teach how to get out of a cross side, and then when you teach him how to get out of a cross side, you're going to teach him how to put the guy back in the guard, and then how you know what I mean? You have to link things. You're not going to teach the guy a flying arm lock and then teach him how to put the guy in a half guard. You know what I mean? It's like two complete separate things that have nothing to do with the other. And so those things you learn with time, and, you know, you start seeing that the student's learning faster from using that method. And, you know, and then you keep using that method, and, you know, a lot of testing too. You can test to do this and that, you know.
You've been on the mat for a very long time, and you've had many instructors, many training partners, you know, and some of them are, I mean, huge names in jiu-jitsu. I mean, you're talking about Rickson. I mean, many consider Rickson the best of the best of the best ever been.
Yes.
What is the biggest lesson that you learned from all of your instructors?
The biggest lesson was to learn how to lose, you know, and keep my dignity, you know.
Explain that. Explain. What do you mean by that?
Because once you get to a certain level, you really don't like to lose, right? You do jiu-jitsu. You guys are probably black belts, you know. You know exactly. When you get to be brown belt and you get tapped out, it's sometimes you can even sleep. And you want to know how that happened. What made you become weak at that one moment to let that happen, right? So I think that teaches you, like, huge. Is one of the biggest things in jiu-jitsu it knocks down your ego. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you start to learn that other people can be better than you at that moment. You know, and that starts to kind of ramifications to other areas of your life. You know what I mean? You start to dealing with real bad problems in an easier way. Jiu-jitsu starts spreading through your personal life, you know. I think that's what they taught me, how to deal with problems that could be really terrifying to other people in an easier way.
Do you remember one particular match or fight or tournament that didn't go your way and was really impactful on you?
I went to the Brazilian tournament one time in Manaus. You know where Manaus is, right?
Yep.
It's the capital of the Amazon. You can only get there by plane or ship.
Yep.
So I get there and I'm ready, man. I'm a brown belt. I'm like ready to kill. And I get on the mat, you know, and I grab the guy, and the guy grabs me. And my first step, I step one of those connections of the mat, and I break my foot. 30 seconds onto the match. So I had to leave. I had to get out, you know, because if you get hurt, you still get disqualified. You just shit. So that was what I'll never forget that. And the other event was when I fought the best brown belt of all times, Pascoal. He's still one of my best friends. He's in the north of Brazil. Pascoal is one of the greatest. And he beat Royce, and he beat Royler, and he beat a bunch of guys in the family. And I went over there and got revenge, and I beat him. And I will never forget that. You know.
Did you become friends after or before?
We became friends after. Yeah, you know how it is. You know, kill that guy. But then,
walk me through that match. Walk me through the match. So he beats most of the people in the family. You go there to get a revenge.
He was at the top. And I knew I was going to have to fight him. He was exactly my weight, 173 pounds. And I remember I was really good in judo at the time. I would fake some throws and grab the leg, and and I took him down, and he immediately went for a knee in the stomach and an armbar. It was astonishing. He didn't even know how that crap happened, because you know what I mean. I think at the time I was trained so well that it was just, I feel like it was so smooth, you know what I mean? What I did, that he wouldn't have a chance. He wouldn't have a chance.
Well, what was his response afterwards?
He got a little freaked out, and we walked off. We didn't talk to each other until like the next tournament over. But we started talking, and then there's tournaments you're gonna see the guy for sure.
Yeah.
So I kept seeing the guy, but we never fought again. He became his black belt, and he moved to the north of Brazil, and we never fought again. And I fought a bunch of fights, and when I got my black belt, and I lost, and I was just like, Rickson, what do I have to do to actually win in this division? He goes, well, now it's going to have to be physical. You're going to have to get out there and do sprints and lift weights, because when we did jiu-jitsu, there was no steroids. There was no lifting massive amounts of weights. There was no, rope and banging on a tire. We just did jiu-jitsu. We did, if you had to do 3 hours of jiu-jitsu a day, we did 3 hours of jiu-jitsu a day, and then we went to tournament. And then I fought one guy from Toughest Gracie, and I beat him for points, and then I was starting to see what I needed to do, And I got too many injuries. I got a shoulder injury. I got a knee injury. My hip was already killing me, because I have a hip replacement nowadays. I did a hip replacement about 4 years ago. But that has been bothering me for 15 years, So I stopped competing for a long time in the black belt, and went back at 40 years old and fought everybody again after I was 40 years old. And then I started winning again. And my last fight was in 2008, when I was 55 years old already. I fought Aloysio Silva. You know that guy, right? Aloysio Silva. And that was it. And then I retired there, because I had to get out winning. I fought one time before in the pen. The guy broke my foot. I had to tap, So I wanted to fight one more time to get out winning. And I fought Aloysio, and I won, so I was out of there. I'm like, okay, now I just got to teach. But I still get it. When I go to a tournament, I get crazy. I want to fight again.
The adrenaline, right?
So you said earlier that Rickson and those guys taught you about loss. Why was it so important that you had to go out with a win?
I don't know, man. It was just my old ego came back. My old ego. I lost a bunch of fights in the black belt, and I was like, I got to win, man. I got to win a couple of times to make him feel good,
So let me ask you this. What was the toughest fight that you've had?
I think that one of the toughest fights I fought was against a Machado student after I was already 45 years old. I fought Dave Meyer.
Oh, yeah. We know Dave.
I fought him twice. He had 50 pounds on me, The second time he had 60 pounds on me. And then I lost 4 points. But,
What was it so tough about it?
He was a tough guy. He was heavier, stronger. He knew jiu-jitsu very well. So I had him on a triangle, and he got out. I mean, he had his hand like this to tap, and he was able to get out. So you got to give the guys kudos,
Yeah, we had him. We had him on the show. We did talk. He didn't mention that part, but
he was an animal. He was an animal.
Yeah.
He's close to my age, which I never fought anybody old. Everybody I fought was 10 years younger than me until 2008, that I fought Aloysio, which was pretty much my age.
When you look back to the beginning times in Brazil, when you were Holes and Rickson and you guys training together and all the great names that you're mentioning, at that time, do you comprehend who's around you? Who are the guys that you are training with? Because
That's the thing.
today,
You know.
all of them are great black belts, including yourself. I mean, black belt and coral belts. I mean, you guys are it. Do you see that at that time back then?
Yeah. But to us, that we are so close to them, then they were
Yeah.
just like us. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
They were. We didn't. Now Rickson is like my idol. You know, and RŌL is, they're my idols. Fabio Gracie, those guys are my idols because the way they lived and the way they actually transmitted to us, you know, and how they were friends with us and, you know, close. And I think that that's pretty much rare, you know what I mean? Nowadays, having that kind of friendship. And nowadays, guys are like the instructor, the army instructor, get in, do your stuff and get out, and you can never get close to that person. There's a lot of that. But, you know, to me, my students are very close to me. You know, they come here to visit me in Utah, and, you know, we're the same way with them. They invited us to go up. I have footage of training with RŌL when RŌL was 12 years old. I have black and white footage of me and RŌL training up in the mountains at their mansion up in the mountains.
Oh.
The house that had 21 rooms.
I would love
and
to see
7 bathrooms, and you know.
Well, let me ask you this then: who was the toughest out of them all, out of Gracie family?
RŌL was the toughest for a while, you know, on my era. I mean, probably earlier than that, there was other guys. They say that Gaston was the toughest guy. Gaston, before, you know, and then RŌL became the champion, and then RŌL died, and then Rickson, you know. But nobody was even close to those two guys. I mean, they were so good that even Fabio Gracie would ask them stuff. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's a different level if you think about it.
I mean, I feel that I'm just lucky to ever met those people. You know what I mean? I'm just lucky. I mean, this was just like by, I don't know, if there's a God, God put me in their way, you know what I mean? And said, hey, you're going to be meeting these people, you know? And I was just like astonished that I was able to be close friends with these people, especially nowadays that, you know, people glorify them, you know.
Well, I mean, listen, without them, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
Well, yeah.
I mean, without them, you know, I mean, you even said it yourself, you wouldn't be doing jiu-jitsu, right?
I was going to be a surfboard maker or something.
Yeah, well, you never know. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. And yet here we are. We are able to chit chat together and talk. You know, jiu-jitsu, tell different jiu-jitsu stories. So that's the fabulous part behind all of this. Right?
That is the fabulous part. Jiu-jitsu world is definitely fabulous. You know, the people that you meet. I meet when I go and do seminars. I meet the best people ever, because there's something about the people that like jiu-jitsu. They always have something in common, you know, and they're always awesome people. You see some guy that's so burly looking, you know, he's strong, he's massive, the nicest guy you can talk to, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's jiu-jitsu great, man.
Jiu-jitsu is awesome.
At the same time, there's a lot of people that has bad attitude, and they're spreading this thing, you know. I don't really know what it is. If it's ego, they think that they're better than other people, and they, you know, I don't know what it is, but those people need to be a little bit schooled so they can be tough and nice. You know what I mean? They can be tough and nice too. They don't have to be tough and assholes.
Well, being tough has nothing to do with being asshole, being nice. Being tough is a very different characteristic. You can be tough and you can be the nicest person ever. And I agree with you. I mean, almost, I think a lot of black belts that, you know, they can destroy you. And yet they are so humble, so nice. So it's nice to talk to them, nice to connect to them. And oftentimes it feels like you've known them for so many years, right? Even though you just met them.
Yeah, they make you feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
That's a great thing.
Yeah. Listen, we've been at this for almost an hour. Time flies when you tell good stories. Yeah,
when
but
you're having fun, yes.
yeah,
definitely.
but listen, before we finish, we have a question from our previous guest. Okay, the guest who was before you, but he didn't know that you're going to answer the question. Okay, so he kind of asked the question completely in blind, completely in dark.
Okay, I hope I can answer it.
Well, let's see. That's one way to find out. Gary's going to ask you the question.
Yeah, so he did know you were a coral belt. That was the only hint we gave him. And his name is Sean Applegate. And Sean wants to know, at what point in time does your jiu-jitsu become more of a mental progression from a physical progression?
That's an awesome question, because you notice that, you notice that when you get your black belt, sometimes even earlier a little bit when you're a brown belt and you make that turn, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You want to brutalize people until then, and then at that moment, you become technical because your brain now is seeing 3, 5, 10 moves ahead. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think that it's like having some kind of magical powers, because you not only by the movement of the guy, you already know what he's going to do. So that's mental. You know what I mean? That's a feel. You can close your eyes. You're going to still feel the same way. You know what I mean? Because now it's a feeling. It's a mental thing. And that thing just turns on all of a sudden. It's you go your entire life of jiu-jitsu, and then you get to your late belts, brown, and then that happens. It's I really don't know how to explain, but if you can understand, it's something that snaps, and then you stop becoming a nuisance, you become a threat. You know what I mean? You let blue belts play on you. They are nuisances. They come and they do. All of a sudden, this is enough. Bam. You know what I mean? So that part increases. That part of your, that's enough. Now I'm going to act part is, you know what I mean? There's a word for that I can't.
What you're saying is that you know the power that you have in your hands, and
yes,
you can use it at will when you want to, but you don't have to.
Right, you don't have to. So that at that moment, that's when that happens. The question was at what point that happens, right?
Yeah,
that was the question, right? Yeah. So I think it's on your late belts. Sometimes after you get your black belt, sometimes on your late brown belt, but it's when you acquire that power that you're doing everything pretty much right and perfect, and you can sweep anybody, you can armbar pretty much a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? You got that power. And I got to the brown belt and I felt that way. I'm like, guys cannot beat me at all. I haven't tapped in years to anyone, except to Rickson, of course. Rickson, he would make you see that he's better,
Was it when he thought you were being a nuisance, or was it constant?
Oh, man, I gave him some hard times before, but he would always turn it around and just show that he was better, Because when you come out of your mother uterus already rolling, you cannot compare yourself to that.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? That all the Gracie family already came out rolling.
Right.
So you cannot compare yourself to that because I used to beat Royce up and Hoyer up because I was a lot older, But they were just like relentless. They were incredible little. I don't even have a word to describe. They were like, you know what I mean? They knew probably more than I knew, and they could survive in terrible positions, you know. But I think that power, you know when you get it. You know what I mean? You know when you get it, when you stop doubting yourself, and you know you're like, yeah, these guys don't have a chance against me.
You talked about Rickson, you know, turning on the next level. No matter what happened, he always could show you. Do you remember one particular time where you and him were rolling and he just, I don't know, made you feel
After the class, Hollis would be teaching the class, and he would teach most of the class, and Rickson would be downtown teaching at the other academy with his dad, and then he would show up like late already, 8 o'clock, you know. And then he would pull me to the side and say, hey, let's roll a little bit here in the corner. I'm like, all right, let's, you know, everybody's leaving already, you know. So we would start, and the stuff would just escalate. You know what I mean? It would start really light, and all of a sudden, you know how it is. He's trying to put it to me, and then I'm like, no, not gonna let. And then it would escalate, and then Hollis would get involved, and he would be like giving us instruction, and then put fire on the fire. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, we were just going at it like insane. You know, and then he would get me, because that's what happened every time, you know.
Yeah.
But that for me was great, because it was just improving me also, you know what I mean. It was the same thing happened here in Torrance when we were, you know, we would bring all these guys to fight Royce for the UFC, but the guys weren't trained, so they didn't have endurance to go. Ended up being me and him going for hours, you know what I mean?
I think what's amazing about everything that you're saying is the simple fact that people dream about meeting Rickson, Royler, Royce. Like you're dropping all these names. They dream about just shaking their hand, and you are talking about being there after classes, talking about stuff, talking about jiu-jitsu, and then literally just pounding each other, just going at it like, you know, the best friends that you guys were.
I would think that we were mad at each other. We're like, no, we're not mad at each other.
We're just training.
It's just training. Yeah.
What about fabulous stories, Professor? I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, I'm just imagining the everything that you sharing with us. I wish somebody recorded this so we can see some of these things, but obviously it wasn't as available back then.
I know, it was so hard to have recording of anything. It was just I had 8 MMA fights and 2 underground, you know. I don't have one video of it.
Yeah.
We were so like into it that we didn't even think about video. It's crazy times, you know.
Do you, before we finish this, last final question I want to ask you is, do you find yourself lucky to be born in the time where you were born, to have the opportunity to find yourself in the situations that you have, to be lucky to meet those people, and then today, obviously, you do what you do because of that?
I'm probably the luckiest person on earth. I can say that, you know, because I have friends that I have, you know, they're great friends, and you know, if you don't have friends, you're in trouble today, you know. I mean, I'm talking about real friends that, you know, you can just say, hey, I'm coming to your house. I'm going to live there for a little while because I'm in trouble, you know.
Yeah. Friends
that you can know that will never let you down. So that is the most important thing. And I think jiu-jitsu brings that, you know. Sometimes your own students are your best friends. You don't even know, you know. They have open door for you at any time, you know.
I agree.
Jiu-jitsu is the most unbelievable thing, and I'm definitely the luckiest person. See, when I was in San Diego, I never needed a dentist. I have students that were dentists, mechanics, doctors. Say one thing, electricians, same thing. We have them all, you know, and they were happy to do it for us, you know. So jiu-jitsu is an amazing thing. And then you meet this person that you had ever met, and the person does jiu-jitsu. That's it. You're already friends with them. It doesn't matter, right?
Oh, yeah. I agree. Sometimes you just see a jiu-jitsu t-shirt and you're already friends with them.
And you do jiu-jitsu. Oh, yeah, that's it. This starts that conversation that's going to last 20 hours.
That's right. I've been there. I've been there so many times.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Listen, we want to be respectful of your time. We've been at this for way past an hour.
You can talk to me anytime for 10 hours.
Well, we're going to have to bring you back again because I feel like there's more stories behind this. But before we finish, if anybody wants to connect with you, are you available online? I mean, your academy is in San Diego. And if anybody wants to visit that, right, you are there occasionally a couple times a month.
You can send an email to Fabio Santos BJJ at gmail.com at any time, and I'll respond instantly to you if you seminars or whatever. Where are you guys at? You guys
Chicago.
Chicago.
Oh,
Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, Chicago. All
Chicago.
right.
Yeah. So if you're ever coming through Chicago, Chicago, make sure you let us know. I mean, it would be fabulous to have you.
That would be great. Last April, I drove to Omaha, Nebraska, by car. That was a huge mistake.
Well, lessons learned, right? We wouldn't know. You wouldn't know unless you've done it, right?
Live and learn.
That's
I
it.
have a huge school over there, and we do seminars there every year. But I decided to drive, and that was, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'll fly out here. When you come, get on a
One
plane.
day I'll fly out and do a seminar for you guys.
We love it. We would
love to have you. All right, let's wrap this up for today. First of all, I want to thank you for your stories, your wisdom, everything you do for jiu-jitsu, because without guys like you, I would not be able to do what I do. Gary would not have a job. We would not be able to share this amazing art and this thing that we love so much.
Yeah, thanks for everything. I mean, and for people who aren't aware of the history that you have and what you did bringing jiu-jitsu here to the States, they should really look it up and so they have a new appreciation for it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You guys are doing a great job. I think one of you guys been at my school, haven't you?
I have not.
I don't think so.
No. Thomas has been around a lot longer than me in jiu-jitsu. I'm older, but he's been in jiu-jitsu a lot
somewhere. I don't know. Did I meet you?
No, I don't think so. Not in person.
We would remember.
Not in person.
Remember.
Not in person.
Yeah.
I would remember you beating me up. I would remember that. But I'll make a point. I'll make a point to stop by your academy next time I'm in California. So that's on my. That's on my.
You're going, because then I'll go.
Yeah.
You know. Or I'm there already. You never know.
All right, guys. Let's wrap this up for today. Once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the stories.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.